this problem where you're asked to sketch a rather complex looking function. And the easiest way to do these is to sketch them one piece at a time, one layer at a time, starting with some very simple graphs. So the first graph we're going to sketch is a graph of y equals 4 to the x. That's a pretty straightforward exponential function, and we know it's an exponential growth function that looks like this. The intercept is at 1, and the asymptote is the x-axis. The function asks us to look at 4 to the negative x, however. The negative x flips the graph about the y-axis. So the new graph is the same as the original, but reversed about the y-axis. Intercept is still at x equal 1, and the horizontal asymptote is again the positive x-axis. Let's look at the effect of the 8 now. What the 8 does is says take this graph and multiply each of the y values by 8. If I multiply each of the y values by 8, I get a rather similar looking graph. The shape is basically the same. The only thing that's happened is this y value used to be 1. Now it's 8. So this intercept is at 8. The asymptote, if we think about it a little bit, these y values get very, very small, almost 0. If we multiply a number almost 0 by 8, I still get a number almost 0. So the x-axis is still an asymptote. It just approaches that asymptote a little bit more slowly. So now we have a graph of y equals 8 times 4 to the minus x. Next step is to see what happens with the 2. And the effect of the 2 is to take this graph, the one we just got finished with, and slide each one of the y values down 2 units. So the intercept was at 8. Now it is at 6. It has gone down 2 units. So that's the new y-intercept. The asymptote used to be at at y equals 0. Now it has gone down 2 units, so the new asymptote is going to be at y equals -2. So I'm going to have a graph with the same shape as this, but passing through this point with this asymptote. The only question now is to find out what the x-axis intercept is. Well, at the x-axis intercept, y must be 0. So I'm going to solve the equation 8 times 4 to the minus x minus 2 equals 0. If I do the arithmetic, I get 8 times 4 to the negative x equals 2. 4 to the negative x equals 2 divided by 8, which is 1/4. And if we look at this, 4 to the negative 1 is 1/4, so x must be -1. So the x-intercept, x must be 1, not -1. X is 1. So this graph has the same basic shape as the previous one, except it has the x-intercept at x equal 1 and the y-intercept at y equals 6. So we constructed this graph again in pieces, starting with a simple graph and gradually increasing in complexity.